Welcome to But Frankly Pierce News. I'm Arthur Fairview. Here's what we're facing. It is December 7th, 2022. Pearl Harbor Day, a day that will forever live in infamy.
Wrong script, Art.
Yeah, we cut that yesterday.
Always the last to know. Okay, fine. I'll use my script. Well, it's that time of year for lists.
Lists?
What kind of lists?
Guest lists?
To-do lists?
Franz list?
No, lists. Lists, gift lists, resolution lists, end of year lists.
Bucket lists?
No, that pales by comparison.
No, lists.
Ah, okay.
I thought we were going to talk 45's announcement.
We are. With the failed former president's recent announcement of a 2024 run.
In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
We thought this was a good time to take a look back while we review the list of what he accomplished during his time in office.
Accomplished?
Yes. The following are just few of the many accomplishments of failed former President Donald J. Trump, according to a recent article on Huffington Post.
You thinking what I'm thinking?
Yeah, we better come up with something fast to fill. This is not going to take long.
Nope.
He tried to buy Greenland, doctored a hurricane forecast map with a Sharpie, attempted a coup to stay in power, absconded with thousands of classified documents, lied about it, and refused to give them back when the feds asked nicely, sent unidentified federal officers to Portland, Oregon, to abduct protesters and spark a conflagration that could be used as a pretense for implementing martial law. And then there was this very awkward photo op outside of St. John's Episcopal Church near Lafayette Square Park during the Black Lives Matter protests in response to the murder of George Floyd.
Wow, I'd almost managed to forget that.
Wish I had a delete button for that stuff.
He tried to blackmail Ukraine into manufacturing dirt for his 2020 campaign, asked Russia for help in his 2016 campaign, and got it. Invited Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov to an in-person meeting in the Oval Office where he accidentally revealed top-secret intelligence. Separated migrant parents from their children, locked the kids in cages, and then failed to reunite them. Insisted that raking would prevent forest fires because, and I quote, "You've got to take care of the floors. You know, the floors of the forest, very important."
You look at other countries where they do it differently, and it's a whole different story. I was with the president of Finland, and he said, we have a much different, we're a forest nation. He called it a forest nation. And they spend a lot of time on raking and cleaning and doing things, and they don't have any problem. And when it is, it's a very small problem.
I thought this guy said it better.
Remember, only you can prevent forest fires.
He covered for Saudi Arabia after Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman ordered the gruesome murder and dismemberment of a U.S. journalist with a bone saw. Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law, owes Saudi Arabia $2 billion, and the Crown Prince has reportedly bragged about having Kushner in his pocket.
In his pocket?
Blech. I wouldn't want him anywhere near my pockets.
He intervened to get Kushner top-secret clearance after he was denied over concerns about foreign influence, then put Kushner in charge of Middle East peace.
So he embraced rampant nepotism.
Just keeping it in the family.
It's all relative.
He touted using ultraviolet light internally, injecting disinfectant and hydroxychloroquine as COVID-19 cure.
So, supposing we hit the body with a tremendous, whether it's ultraviolet or just very powerful light, and I think you said that hasn't been checked, but you're going to test it. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either through the skin or in some other way. And I think you said you're going to test that too. Sounds interesting.
Get the right folks who could.
Right, and then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning, because you see it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number on the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that. So that you're going to have to use medical doctors with. But it sounds interesting to me. So we'll see. But the whole concept of the light, the way it kills it in 1 minute, that's pretty powerful.
He touted the horse dewormer, ivermectin, as a COVID-19 cure. He told people not to wear face masks to cut down the spread of COVID-19, even though they were proven to work.
I just don't want to wear one myself. It's a recommendation. They recommend it. I'm feeling good. I just don't want to be doing, I don't know, somehow sitting in the Oval Office behind that beautiful Resolute desk, the great Resolute desk. I think wearing a face mask as I greet presidents, prime ministers, dictators, kings, queens, I don't know, somehow I don't see it for myself. I just don't.
Actively discouraged COVID-19 testing. Refused to send federal aid to New York City amid the first COVID-19 wave because the virus was hitting Democratic voting states hardest. Jokingly said on multiple occasions that he deserved to be president for more than 2 terms.
We're going to have to extend my second term because 2026, I'm going to have to extend it for a couple of years. I don't think any of you would have a problem with that.
I was going to joke, General, and say at least for 10 or 14 years, but we would cause bedlam if I said it.
We go to 20, we go to 24. Did you see it? Then it says 28, 32, 36, 40, 44.
He's now president for life. And look, he was able to do that. I think it's great. Maybe we'll have to give that a shot someday.
How far is it to Canada?
He built an incomplete border wall that doesn't work, wasn't needed, and wasn't paid for by Mexico. Started a trade war with China that mainly hurt U.S. consumers. Threw food against the White House walls when angry.
I first noticed there was ketchup dripping down the wall, and there's a shattered porcelain plate on the floor. The valet had articulated that the president was extremely angry at the Attorney General's AP interview.
He saw no problem with his vice president potentially being hanged by a violent mob he summoned and sent to the U.S. Capitol to disrupt the peaceful transition of power. Stared directly at the sun during a partial solar eclipse on August 21st, 2017.
I think I'm getting a migraine.
Started his presidency with an easily disproved lie about the crowd size at his inauguration. Lied. All the time.
Still does.
Openly embraced and amplified QAnon conspiracy theories. Got impeached. Twice. Called American military members who died in the line of duty losers and suckers. Claimed to have bone spurs to get out of military service. Binge-watched Fox News when he should have been working.
Witnesses told us that on January 6th, President Trump sat in his usual spot, at the head of the table, facing a television hanging on the wall. We know from the employee that the TV was tuned to Fox News all afternoon. Here you can see Fox News on the TV showing coverage of the joint session that was airing that day at 1:25. Other witnesses confirmed that President Trump was in the dining room with the TV on for more than 2.5 hours. There was no official record of what President Trump did while in the dining room. On the screen is the presidential call log from January 6th. As you can see, there's no official record of President Trump receiving or placing a call between 11:06 and 6:54 p.m. As to what the president was doing that afternoon, the presidential daily diary is also silent. It contains no information from the period between 1:21 p.m. and 4:03 p.m.
And then he played golf. So much golf.
And did it at his own clubs on the American taxpayer's dime.
But seriously, with all the time spent on the course, is he any good?
Let's go to the video.
built a golf course just to miss this green.
It's an easy one to miss.
That swing looks a little broken. Was it made in China?
I don't know. Not too much is made.
Yeah.
What would your followers say if you hit this left?
Oh,
there we go.
I don't know about that, guys.
Oh, a little short, kind of like your second term.
He was accused of sexual misconduct by more than 24 women. Dismissed any bad news about himself as fake. Lied about voluntarily turning over his tax returns. Ate well-done steak with ketchup.
That's disgusting!
Described white supremacists in Charlottesville, Virginia as very fine people.
Art?
Used private communication services extensively after arguing Hillary Clinton should be jailed for having a private email server.
Art?
Refused to release White House visitor logs. Went to Puerto Rico, threw paper towels at people desperate for actual hurricane aid. Discouraged exercise because he believes bodies are like batteries with a finite amount of energy.
Art!
What?
We get it.
Yes, clearly.
Fine. Just trying to report the news. Always getting interrupted.
Moving on.
In a related story, you remember this.
Preserve, protect, and defend
Preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Don't remind me.
Well, on Saturday, December 3rd, 2022, the failed former president and presumptive leader of the Republican Party mischaracterized a Twitter thread to claim that Joe Biden's presidential campaign had successfully pressured Twitter to suppress the story of Hunter Biden's laptop.
Is that true?
Let's consult the truth meter. Gonna have to call that a big negative.
Definitely falls into the category of untruth.
Yes, the thread actually said something else entirely, but that didn't stop the failed former president from posting it on his Truth Social platform. And he called for overthrowing the Constitution.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Trump wrote, so with the revelation of, written in all capital letters, massive and widespread fraud and deception, and working closely with big tech companies, the DNC, and the Democratic Party, do you throw the presidential election results of 2020 out and declare the rightful winner, or do you have a new election? Massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. Our great founders did not want and would not condone false and fraudulent elections. It's quite a different tone from the previous proclamations of love for the Constitution.
Well, he never really had much of a grasp on what the Constitution actually says, let alone what the founders thought or wanted.
If they could see what damage he has caused, I believe they would say something like,
Will someone shut that man up?
We've seen that Trump doesn't really care about facts and doesn't allow reality to prevent him from saying whatever he pleases. We're engaging in what the American philosopher Harry Frankfurt labels bullshit.
Really interesting and very apropos for today. In it, you sort of try and delineate the difference between bullshit and humbug or lying. You say bullshit is not lying.
No, it's not lying. Lying consists in believing that you know the truth and saying something else.
It's willful.
It's willful. And the bullshitter doesn't really care whether what he says is true or false.
So wait, does that make him a liar or a bullshitter?
That's another show. Stay tuned.
If Trump really knew or cared about our Constitution, he would realize that what really is unprecedented in modern American history is his expressed willingness to toss it aside. Never before in our history has a president, former president, or presidential candidate treated the Constitution in such a cavalier manner. And never before has any of them attacked it in such a transparently self-serving way. But the significance of what Trump said is not simply a matter of its status in our history. To look at this from a legal perspective, we go to our legal expert, Anna Turney, about the implications of that statement. Thanks for joining us, Anna.
Thanks for having me. There is definitely a troubling part of making this a public statement.
Trump's statement about terminating electoral provisions of the Constitution amounts to what lawyers call an admission against interest. Such an admission, which can be made before, during, or after a crime, is defined as an out-of-court statement made by a subject of a criminal investigation that is against their own pecuniary, proprietary, or penal interest.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, this pose could come back to haunt the failed former president with the current ongoing investigations.
Yes, it is a possibility. The statement offers important evidence about his culpability in the January 6th insurrection, and about his state of mind and intention. It can, and should, be used by special counsel Jack Smith to bring the failed former president to justice for what happened that day.
Well, that social media post could be incredibly important to the prosecution, right?
Yes, and equally as important, the statement offers further evidence of Trump's unfitness ever again to take the oath of office and serve as president of the United States.
Very enlightening as always. Legal expert and attorney. Thanks for joining us, Anna.
Always a pleasure.
And finally, some good news. Incumbent Senator Raphael Warnock has won the runoff election and is now elected to a full term as U.S. Senator representing the great state of Georgia, despite all the new laws signed by Governor Kemp. In private, in front of a picture of a slave plantation and the millions of dollars from out of state. Democrats now have a true majority in the Senate, and if that was not enough.
But wait, there's more.
A jury in Manhattan has found failed former President Donald Trump's company guilty of a long-running criminal tax fraud scheme that lasted into his presidency.
Finally.
Most excellent. Imagine what must have been going on in Trump's head when he heard that news.
You lose! Good day, sir!
Trump and his attorneys have pushed back, arguing that prosecutors in New York have overstepped their authority and are engaged in a political witch hunt against the former president.
Of course he does.
What else is new?
As previously reported, Trump also faces federal probes involving his role in efforts to block the peaceful transfer of power after he lost the 2020 presidential election, and his decision to keep classified documents after leaving the White House.
Didn't they just find more of those in his storage unit today?
I didn't know he had one. Why would he have a storage unit anyway?
Obviously, to keep classified documents in. Last month, the U.S. Justice Department appointed a special counsel to oversee those investigations. Failed former president has also described that process as politically motivated. And as such, it has been 700 days since the January 6th attack on the Capitol and our democracy, and failed former President Trump has still not been indicted or charged with anything. This has been But Frankly Pierce News. Thanks for watching. I'm Arthur Fairview. He's making a list. He's checking it twice. He's going to find out who's naughty and nice.
Thank you.